Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the program. Day number 2 of the 2014 NFL Scouting Combine. I don't know about you, but I put in an 8-hour day. I felt like I went to work today. 8-hour day from 9 to 5. I was in front of my television set watching the Scouting Combine. Remember, keep in mind, I'm watching this so you don't have to. So, 8 hours of footage. And this is by far the longest day of the combine, probably the most entertaining day as well of the combine. Quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers. And so this was a very lengthy day. A lot of things to go over. Don't want to keep you here too long. So I'm just going to go straight to the big board, get right to the proceedings this evening. We start with group number 4. That's your first set of receivers. And this was a big group because in this group, you've got some of the heavy hitters in the receiving class: Mike Evans, Kelvin Benjamin, among the names you're looking for. Of course, in the quarterback group, you got Blake Bortles, you got A.J. McCarron. So you got some guys that are throwing that are some of the upper echelon at their position. Taj Boyd also in the mix at the quarterback position. A couple of names we'll talk about a little bit later in the quarterback class that was in group 4 that threw the football. Of course, we know about the names that did throw today. You had Bridgewater not do anything except jump. He didn't run. He didn't do any of the positional drills, nothing. He just showed up and really talked to the different clubs and jumped, but he didn't do anything else. But you had a guy like Johnny Manziel that actually ran a pretty good time. And so we'll talk about him a little bit later. But let's get into group number 4 and talk about what I saw from each of the players that I have listed here. First person that jumped off to me had the best day of the group 4 members in terms of the wide receivers was Mike Evans. Man, is he smooth or what? He is silky smooth. I mean, Mike Evans, the way he moves, the way he catches the football, there's no wasted motion. It just looks effortless. And so the comparisons were to Vincent Jackson. They kept saying that all telecast long. I'd have to agree with them. He resembles Vincent Jackson so much to the point that he's actually going out to San Diego to work with Vincent Jackson after he leaves the combine. He was sharp. He caught everything. He made it look easy. He was fluid in his motions. He ran a 4.56 40, so he wasn't blazing fast, but again, at that height, with that range, with everything he brings to the table to run a 4.5 40, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, the guy absolutely hit a home run at the combine in day number 2. You want to tell me the littlest guy that had a huge day. Brandon Cooks, to me, stood out. You know what? It's 1A, 1B for me with the little guys. Odell Beckham Jr. Okay, look, I'm not a big LSU receiver guy. I really don't like going to LSU for anything usually offensively. Okay, I try to stay away from LSU. They put up big numbers. They do some things, but they're a defensive football team. So I'm a little wary, especially when you start talking receiver. I'm a little wary of LSU receivers. But Odell Beckham Jr. looks the part. And I'll tell you what, I was mighty impressed with what I saw from him and Brandon Cooks out of Oregon State. Brandon Cooks might have made himself a first-round pick with his performance today. I mean, the guy is extremely fast, ran one of the faster times of the day. Fastest in Group 4 for sure, at a 4.33 40. He was blazing fast. Odell Beckham Jr., he was fast as well, ran a 4.43 40. He was moving, but Cooks snatched the ball out of the air. He had a beautiful gauntlet drill, had one double catch, but he still caught the ball nonetheless. He was catching the football cleanly. He was snatching it. Everything was fluid with him, and you see the speed, and it translates. Here's a guy that had huge production at Oregon State. Now you saw the athleticism to match. Brandon Cooks did himself a huge favor with his performance. And day number 2 of the combine, Odell Beckham Jr., again, thoroughly impressed. I'm a guy that if you come from LSU, you got to make a believer out of me. Odell Beckham Jr. made a believer out of me with the athleticism, the speed, the fluidity. It was all on display. He looked like a guy that you could draft in the first round and feel really good about the player that you're getting. Odell Beckham Jr. did some big things in day 2 of the combine. Kelvin Benjamin, here's a guy out of Florida State I was drooling over, not going to lie to you. Looking at him at the combine, however, ran a lot slower than I was expecting. I thought he was a little faster than what he put forth at the combine. Again, he's a big guy. We're talking about a 6'5", close to 6'6" specimen, a guy that's 240 pounds. So him not moving as fast, that's not his game. And that's what I had to realize watching him perform at the combine. That's just not his game. He's not going to blaze past defenders. What he's going to do is use that frame to snatch the football out of the air, be a big possession receiver down in the red zone. He caught the football, and that's all I can ask of him. Catch the football when it's thrown to you. He caught it because he had some drop issues at Florida State sometimes. So he caught the football well. He didn't run as well, but I saw what I needed to see out of him, and he caught the football. He's a big, big, strong man. Kelvin Benjamin checked off the boxes at the combine. Let's talk about some other receivers quickly in group number 4. How about John Brown? How about John Brown out of Pitt State? This is a guy much like Brandon Cooks. Short, diminutive guy, but extremely fast. We're talking about a 4.3, 5.40 or something of that nature. The guy is extremely fast and can catch. I was pleasantly surprised with how well he caught the football. I was expecting him to be one of those flash in the pan guys, can run fast, but not really going to do much after, he gets the football. This guy is extremely fast, and if you throw it to him, I was amazed at how quick he got out of his breaks, how smooth he was in running his routes, and how strong his hands were when he got his hands on the football. John Brown opened some eyes. I'm definitely a believer in John Brown out of Pitt State. Small school guy, a lot of speed. Really did himself some good at the combine. Devontae Evans, high production guy out of Fresno State, played with Derek Carr, one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. We're talking about a guy, 130 grabs in 2013 at Fresno State. So high production. I thought he was a little bit faster than what I saw here. I thought he was faster on tape. Wasn't as fast, but again, high production. He's going to catch the football. He was smooth in his routes that he was running. Caught the football well. Have no complaints on what I saw with Devontae Evans. He checked the boxes on day 2 of the combine. How about Jared Abbrederis, receiver out of Wisconsin? Every time you see a white receiver, you always want to compare them to another white receiver. For some reason, we love to do that. Well, the comparison that they threw out there, Brian Hartline, tell you what, he looked a lot smoother than Brian Hartline did when I saw him at the combine a few years back. And I tell you what, he ran a lot faster than I remember Brian Hartline running as well. Jared Abbrederis is a guy, we need to look out for him. I think this is a guy that can make an impact. He's a technician. He runs precise routes. He gets in and out of his breaks, and he can catch the football. I was impressed with Jared Abbrederis. Look out for him. I thought he did himself a wonder at the combine with the way he performed in day 2. So those are the receivers that I want to talk about specifically in group number 4. How about the quarterbacks? A.J. McCarron, to me, performed the best of any quarterback at the combine in day number 2. I mean, group 4, group 5, doesn't matter. A.J. McCarron, to me, threw the best ball. It was catchable. I'm talking about the timing. Everything you saw at Alabama, the timing. Who knew that A.J. McCarron had tats all over? He was tatted up. Tatted up. Who knew A.J. McCarron was tatted up? Okay? He's got a little attitude to him. I like A.J. McCarron. I'm going to tell you what. I'm not a big Alabama guy, but A.J. McCarron, I'm feeling some A.J. McCarron right now. I mean, the way he threw the football, impressive. Very spot on with his throws. The timing was there. Beautiful touch on the football. I like A.J. McCarron. I like him a lot. And I think he's a guy you got to watch out for in the draft as someone that can come in. And he's a winner. Who doesn't like winning? Duh, winning. Who doesn't like a winner? He's a winner. And I thought he won at the combine in day number 2. Blake Bortles. I like the arm strength. Thought he was going to run faster than a 4.9, 3.40, but okay, it is what it is. He runs faster when he's in the game, so that's all that matters. And I thought he threw the football well. A little sporadic, okay? A little inaccurate at times. Ball here, ball there, but those are things you can work on. The arm was lively, though, okay? I questioned the arm strength a little bit. It was lively. I saw the zip on the football. Like what I saw. He's got plenty of arm to get it done at the next level. Thought he had a solid day. What about Taj Boyd? Very, very solid day for Taj Boyd. Didn't test out the way I thought he was in terms of athleticism. Thought he was a little bit faster than what he timed out as. But look, at the end of the day, there's a guy with a strong arm, has to work on his mechanics, and he was all over the place with the football. He was all over the place, but he competed. And you never will hear me jump on a guy for competing. He came out, he competed. I thought he threw some passes well, better than others, but Taj Boyd is the guy that if he gets in the right system, he might be able to do something. Thought he had a solid day as well. So you look at group number 5, and now we move on to some of these other guys in group 5. And of course, main event here is Sammy Watkins. He's the guy that everyone wants to throw out there as the number 1 receiver in this draft. And so you look at Sammy Watkins, and I thought he came out and he played well. Had 1 or 2 drops. Wasn't as fluid as I thought he was going to be. And the 40 time was right around what I thought he was going to run. You know, Mike Mayock was throwing 4.35 out there. I didn't know if he was that fast, but he ran about a 4.3 or 4.43 40. And so Sammy Watkins, he ran the way I thought he was going to run. Caught the football extremely well. Very strong hands. You could easily see that. He's got speed. He's got the toughness. He's got all of those things. Thought he came out and he basically just came out. He didn't wow me. He just checked the boxes. He's everything that you thought he was, everything that everybody else said he was, and then some. He just checked the boxes. Marquise Lee, thought he was faster than what he ran. Thought he was faster than a 4.5 anything. I thought he was going to be a 4.4 something guy. Whether it's 4.47, 4.49, I thought it was just going to be 4.4 something. Didn't think he was going to be a 4.56 guy, which is what he ended up running, 4.52, something of that nature. He's fluid. I will say that. I watched him come in and out of the breaks. Very fluid, very polished. I just feel like for his height and what he's bringing to the table, he has to be more explosive. Because at 5'11 and some change and not blazing fast, you have to do something to separate yourself from everybody else. I just didn't see that. So I need to see more from Marquise Lee. I'm not a firm believer right now. And again, USC is another one of those factories that pumps out players that at that particular position at receiver, they don't have a lot of success at the next level. So I'm already a little skeptical of Marquise Lee, and he really didn't change my mind at the combine. But I tell you what, he made a couple of diving catches that lets me know the hands are definitely there. He can catch the football with the best of them. So I just need to see more from Marquise Lee. Jordan Matthews, high production guy at Vanderbilt. He came out, ran well, ran a lot better than I thought he was going to run. And he caught the football. He just looks mechanical to me. That's the only thing I don't really like about Jordan Matthews. He doesn't look fluid. He looks mechanical. He looks like he's thinking every time he's out there doing something, whether he's running a dig route, running a comeback. Everything is so choppy. And it's not loose and fluid the way you want it to look. But he caught everything. And that's the bottom line. He caught the football. He ran well. He had a really good day. He really had a good day, did Jordan Matthews. How about Allen Robinson from Penn State? He didn't check the boxes for me. I actually gave him an X. He didn't check the box for me because he ran slower than I thought he was going to run. He dropped the football a couple of times. He was sloppy in his routes. I just wasn't impressed with Allen Robinson. And for a guy that was touted as being an early second rounder, maybe even a late first, that was very disappointing. I was not pleased with what I saw from Allen Robinson. He's going to have a stronger pro day to really counterbalance what he did at the combine. I wasn't impressed with him at all. How about Jarvis Landry? Again, I don't like LSU receivers, and he ran a lot slower than people anticipated. Mike Mayock said he's a tough guy. He's going to do this, do that. Well, he ran a 4.640, and then the calf muscle gave out on him. So I feel for the fellow because he didn't get to run another 40. Maybe he had a better time on the second one, but he didn't get to run another one. He didn't get to go do the positional drills, and so I feel for him because he came out, was ready to compete, and his day got cut short by an injury. So Jarvis Landry, you really get an incomplete. You can't give him an X. It's just an incomplete because the guy came out there ready to compete, and he didn't really get a chance to because of an injury. So you look at the quarterbacks with this group. Connor Shaw, he was everywhere. I mean, this guy was high, he was wide, he was short. Connor Shaw was absolutely miserable to me in terms of accuracy. He had a couple of good throws. He was the last guy to throw in group number 5 on the post, hit it beautifully. But for me, Connor Shaw had a rough go of it in day 2 of the combine. I'm not a big Connor Shaw fan, but athletically, he ran great in the 40. He ran, he tested well with all the athletic drills, but in terms of throwing the football, I wanted to see him throw it better than what he did. What about Logan Thomas out of Virginia Tech? Here's a guy that a lot of scouts were drooling over just a season ago. And how he has fallen. But he's got all the intangibles, all the tools you're looking for in a receiver, or excuse me, a quarterback. And so, you know what? Someone's going to take a chance on him. They talked about it during the telecast. Someone's going to take a chance on him. And so, I can't really complain about what I saw from Logan Thomas. Thought he ripped it. Thought he spun it well. It's all about him being consistent and showing the scouts what they want to see. And so, someone's going to take him and give him a shot. I thought he helped himself by throwing the football at the combine. Be right back. So you wrap this thing up with Group 6, the running backs, and looking at the running backs, I talked about this yesterday briefly. I wasn't a huge running back guy. I didn't really feel like this draft had a lot to offer from the running back position. I was wrong. And again, it's all about what's your flavor. Okay, everybody likes to sip their tea a little differently. Some like it dark, some like it heavy on the cream. How do you like your tea? You like it fast? You like your tea big and burly? What's your cup of tea at the running back position? Because they have a lot of different guys here that bring something different to the table. So looking at these backs, let's talk about the ones that I thought stuck out and guys that had a lot to gain from performing at the combine. Bishop Sankey from Washington. I thought he performed well. And Mike Mayock kept talking about wanting to see Sankey catch the football. Well, I think Bishop Sankey caught the ball well. I thought he was out there running well. He ran the 40 well. I thought he checked off all of the boxes as a guy that he toted the rock at Washington. It wasn't like he was a third down back, a specialist or anything. He took the football, and he's a guy you can hand it to. Can he block? That's something you won't be able to determine by just looking at the combine. They don't do any blocking drills, no contact. So you don't know if he can block. You don't know if any of these guys can block unless you go back and watch the tape. But in terms of catching the football, that was the main question Mayock had. I thought that he showed he's a natural catcher of the football. He doesn't have a problem going out, running routes, catching the football out of the backfield. Thought Bishop Sankey, tongue-tied. Bishop Sankey had a good day at the combine. How about Jerick McKinnon? Now, Jerick McKinnon out of Georgia Southern. Here's a guy, I had no idea who he was going into the combine. I just learned about him. And Mike Mayock said, hey, here's a guy that I heard about over the summer. And he said he's going to blow the combine up. He's going to lift well. And the guy had the most reps of any running back at the combine. So he lifted well. And he said he's going to test well. And the guy came out and ran a sub 4.40. And so the guy was flying. So that's number one. He can run. He's strong. And he can catch the football. I like what I saw out of him. And I think Jerick McKinnon, and this is the thing, this is the kicker with him. McKinnon can also play corner as well as running back. So here it is, a guy that is extremely versatile. You know how this goes in the National Football League. The more you can do, the more likely it is you're going to be on someone's roster. So to see a guy like Jerick McKinnon go out there and do the things and perform the way he did, I'm telling you what, a guy from a small school like Georgia Southern, he's going to land on someone's roster. Whether he's drafted or he's undrafted, he's going to catch the attention of somebody. The way he ran at that speed, having the versatility that he has, he could be a New England Patriot. He could be one of those guys that Belichick says, hey, he can do multiple things for me. I got to have him on my team. He's going to make someone's roster. I thought he helped himself immensely with how he performed at the combine. Dre Archer. To me, Dre Archer was the most fascinating back of all the backs I watched today because he came out, ran well. We're talking about a hundredths of a tenth of a second behind Chris Johnson's time, 2/100ths of a tenth of a second. So we're talking about 4.2440 for Chris Johnson, 4.2640 for Dre Archer, just missing Chris Johnson's combine record. So for running backs, the guy can run. That's what I'm basically telling you. The guy can flat out fly. Okay, so he's got jets. So what is he as a back? He can catch it. He's got great feet. I didn't see one hole in his game. Now, again, he's a lighter guy. He's not a 210-pounder or anything like that. He's a lighter guy, but the guy can run and the guy can catch. And I'm telling you right now, he's going to make somebody's backfield that much better. And he brings something to the table, and his skill set is something that NFL franchises are desperately looking for. The guy that is a mismatch out of the backfield. Linebackers aren't fast enough. Safeties aren't fast enough. He's an explosive guy. He's intriguing to me. I'm going to follow Dre Archer because I want to see where he ends up and how they utilize him because he's a weapon. And I'm just fascinated with Dre Archer. I just am. And so thought he had a magnificent day. What about Jeremy Hill out of LSU? A couple of off-the-field issues. He wrote letters to all 32 franchises letting them know, hey, I'm not the guy that people are trying to depict me as. I made a mistake. I know what I did wrong. I'm not going to do that again. And so he's trying to make amends for his past transgressions. When he went out, I thought he performed well. He ran the 40 at around the time I think everybody expected him to, sub 4.6. And I thought he caught the ball well. I didn't know if he could catch. I thought he might have been a guy that wasn't a natural hands catcher. I thought he caught the ball well. And so he's got great feet. You know, that's one of the biggest pluses with Hill is the feet. The guy has excellent feet. I saw that at the combine. Thought he performed well. Thought he had a great day. You look at Carlos Hyde. I'm not a huge Carlos Hyde guy, but I tell you what, if Mike Mayock has you first on his board, that must mean you're a special back. Now, me and Mike don't always see eye to eye, but the one thing that I do is respect Mike Mayock's opinion. If he says a guy is legit, then he's legit. And so, Carlos Hyde, I wanted to see it for myself. I watched him at Ohio State, was never that enamored with him. And I always take what I see in the Big Ten with a grain of salt. And so, was never really enamored with him. And I wanted to see it for myself with my own two eyes at the combine around other athletes that are extremely quick, fast, explosive. I wanted to see how he stacked up with the other guys at the combine, and I felt cheated. I felt robbed. He runs 140, and he pulls up lame, and it's a shame because, again, he didn't test as well as he wanted to, and, you know, he didn't get another chance. And so that was a shame. So I'll have to look out for Mr. Hyde at his pro day, or I might not even get a chance, depending on how severe the injury that he had was. I'll just have to wait and see what he does down the road. Storm Johnson, out of UFC or UCF, played with Bortles, and he's a natural hands catcher. You saw that when he ran routes. He ran a lot faster than I thought he was going to run. I actually thought he was going to be one of those guys that runs a 4.6 40. He actually ran a 4.5 and some change, so he actually helped himself in that department. I thought he ran well. I thought he did everything agility-wise well. I thought he got in and out of breaks. He caught the football well with his hands. I thought Storm Johnson looked like a guy that's draftable in the first 4 rounds of the NFL draft. He won't go in the first round, probably won't go in the second, but around the 3rd or the 4th round, I think he pretty much positioned himself to be drafted in the 3rd or the 4th round with the way he performed at the combine. It's all about somebody falling in love with the things that he brings to the table. But here's a guy that was a workhorse for Central Florida. And so he's going to open some eyes. I thought he performed well and helped himself at the combine. Here's the guy that I thought might have been one of the biggest winners at the combine at the running back position, Tyler Gaffney. I watched Stanford all year last year, and I never once thought to myself, Tyler Gaffney is a burner. Never crossed my mind. I never said to myself, Tyler Gaffney is a guy that can get up and go much faster than slow. Never thought that Tyler Gaffney would be a guy to run a sub 4.540. Never. But that's what he did. He came out and ran a sub 4.540. And so that, to me, that opens eyes because the guy's tough as nails. He can catch the football out of the backfield. And he showed natural pass catching ability. I think he might have caught the most footballs away from his frame with no bobbles, no double catches. It was clean, and we know he can pass protect. He did it at Stanford. I think he just made himself a very viable pick in the second, third round. I mean, easily could see him going late second round. With what he was able to put on tape at the combine, the guy really helped himself immensely. I'm talking about he might have elevated his draft stock a full 2 rounds with what he put on tape today. That's how well I think Tyler Gaffney did. And that's how many eyes I think he might have opened with the speed that he showed at the combine. You look at Henry Josie out of Mizzou. Here's a guy, a lot of knee injuries and some medical issues. He came out and ran well. I mean, he ran a 4.43 40. He came out, tested well, thought he caught the football extremely well. I see him more as a third down back in the National Football League, but if you're running as fast as he is, and if you're catching the ball as fluid as he is, if he can pass protect, he's going to make someone's roster, and he's going to be a difference maker. Thought he tested out well, thought he looked good, he was fluid, caught the football, thought he did everything that he needed to do to prove to scouts that he can play at the next level at a very high level. You look at Andre Williams. Here's a guy, went to BC, ran for over 2,000 yards, really set records at Boston College. Thought that he had to come out and run well and catch the football because he had 0 catches last year at Boston College. And so that was a big knock on him. Can he catch the football? That was the question everyone had. He answered that question with a resounding no. He cannot catch the football, not a natural hands catcher. He tried to catch everything with his body. He had a lot of balls bounce off of his chest. He dropped a couple others that didn't hit his chest. He was all over the place. He cannot catch the football out of the backfield. Not his strong suit. Doesn't mean he's not a good football player. Just means he can't catch. So I think he made that a definitive statement at the combine. No, I cannot catch the football. Don't ask me. Stop asking. I can't catch, but I can run the football. That he can do, and I think teams will overlook the fact that he can't catch and will select him, and he'll get a chance to run the football. Trey Mason. Here's the guy out of Auburn, the 6th runner-up at the Heisman Trophy award-winning ceremony. So here's a guy that got it done at Auburn, and I wanted to see him come out. First, I wanted to see him run because SEC speed is legit speed, and he was one of the best. But I wanted to see it for myself. So I wanted to see him run. I wanted to see him catch the football out of the backfield. And I wanted to see the agility, in and out of breaks, in and out of cuts. How well did he move his hips? I wanted to see explosion out of Trey Mason. Ran the 40, ran it well, okay? So he checked off that box. Can you catch? Thought he caught the ball well. He checked that box. I thought he could have been a little bit more explosive. I was looking for more explosion in the drills. When you stop and you go and you start again, I wanted to see more explosion out of him. Looked like he was kind of trying to mentally make sure he did everything correctly, and I didn't see enough of the explosion. But I know it's there. I know he possesses it. I just would have liked to have seen more of it during the drills. But Trey Mason checked off just about every box that he needed to check off. Thought he had a really good day at the combine. He definitely helped himself. Didn't hurt himself at all at the combine with his performance. What about Lace Trunk? And I thought C-Trunk was an interesting prospect out of Baylor. There's a guy in an explosive offense, a lot of playmakers. You look at this guy and you're thinking to yourself, is he a guy that can play all 3 downs? Because at Baylor, he was a guy that was a playmaker. And sometimes you get him the football and you just want him at the next level. What you have to be able to do is cut your losses. Every play, you can't bounce it outside for 25 yards. Every play isn't designed to get you 30 yards. Sometimes it's okay to put your head down and get 4 yards. It's okay to put your head down and get 2 yards. I want to see And this is something that you can't really find out at the combine. How is he going to test out when they put pads on and he's given the football and guys are just as fast? Because he was faster than guys at Baylor. He was one of the guys that was just a blazer. He could run, and he was just faster than the rest of the guys in the Big 12. And so I want to see when guys are just as fast as you are, what do you do then? What do you do when you're not the fastest guy? When he has to do other things to survive. I thought he caught the football well. I thought he ran exactly the way I thought he was going to run. And so my next thing with him is, how do you adapt to the next level? Because I thought he relied way too much on speed at Baylor. Now I want to see him come out and kind of tailor his game to the NFL a little bit. But he came out and he did everything that I expected him to do. He caught the football well. He was very explosive. He was able to run fast, which is what I think everybody expected him to do, and he did that. So I thought he was extremely athletic. I thought his agility was off the charts. So he did everything I expected him to do. Thought he looked really good. I just want to see how he adapts to the next level when you can't use your speed all the time. D'Anthony Thomas, interesting prospect out of Oregon. Here's a guy that really doesn't have a position. He's a really small framed guy, not really big, not going to be a guy that you can hand it to 20 times in a game. But he's one of those guys that you put in a game and you throw it to him, throw some bubble screens to him, throw some screens out of the backfield, run a delayed draw on 3rd and 12, and he picks up 15. He's that type of guy. Can run some punts back for you, maybe some kickoffs. He's a guy that's going to make your team because he adds value as a special teams guy, as well as someone that you can put in the game as a 3rd down, change of pace back. He caught the football extremely well. And so there's a place on an NFL roster for him as a playmaker. Now, again, it's all about fits and where he lands. And so whoever gets him has to find a way to utilize him where he's not touching the ball too many times. You don't want to overexpose a guy that's that light in the pants. But the guy's extremely fast. He's a blazer. He's explosive. He can catch it. He can move. He can do all the things that can change a game in the blink of an eye. And so D'Anthony Thomas is a guy that definitely is going to come off the draft board, I think, in the middle rounds very quickly. I mean, after you get past the guys that are bell cows, that are multifaceted, he's going to be one of the first names that comes off the board thereafter because of what he brings to the table as a special teams guy as well as a 3rd down back. He was explosive. He showed the explosiveness. He showed the speed, the athleticism. All of that was on display. I thought he showed well at the combine. So now I want to go back to a couple of different areas and then we'll get out of here. Let's talk about some long receivers, some guys that aren't well known, aren't in the big picture of things. But here, if you're looking for a big receiver, maybe your team has a couple of smallish guys that are quick and you need a guy that can go and get the football, has a little bit of length to him. There's some guys that stuck out at the combine. Paul Richardson out of Colorado, long 6'4" guy, can run, thought he caught the ball well, thought he did some things. He was a little choppy, but again, when you're bigger, it's not uncommon for you to be a little stiff, but he can move and he's a big guy. I think Paul Richardson is a guy that can help some teams at the next level. Devin Street out of Pitt, thought he came out. I thought he caught the ball really well. I thought he was extremely fluid in his movements. I thought he caught the ball extremely effortless. I mean, he really made it look easy. His hands are huge. Thought he tested out well at the combine. Brandon Coleman, to me, of all the receivers I saw, to me, he graded out the worst. I mean, he dropped the foot. He's stiff. First of all, he's a big guy. We're talking about a 6'4", 6'5" guy out of Rutgers, can run, but extremely raw. He didn't catch the football well. You could tell he was thinking too much. Just catch the football. He's one of those guys that has to work to catch the football. He's not a natural hands catcher. I never want to hear that when I'm talking about a receiver. Maybe okay for a tight end, maybe a running back. When you're a wide receiver and your job is to catch the football, I don't want to hear that you're not a natural hands catcher. He is not, I repeat, not a natural hands catcher. He's an athlete. He's a specimen. He's huge. He's fast, but he cannot catch the football consistently. didn't like what I saw. And it kind of matched up with what the reports were out on him because he was a guy that dropped the football at Rutgers. Well, he did the same thing at the combine. So he's not a guy that I was really high on after watching him perform at the combine, but he's a big guy. Martavius Bryant out of Clemson. Here's a guy, not a lot of production at Clemson, but he's 6'4". He ran a sub 4.5 40, so he's a blazer. He's long. He can catch the ball. I think he's a guy you got to work with. Again, with limited production at college, he's someone that you want to work closely with because I think there's a lot of untapped potential there. Like what I saw out of him. Again, very raw. Sometimes can be stiff, but the guy has hands. He can't catch the football, and he's got something you can't teach: length and speed. And so Martavius Bryant is going to help some teams. And so I think he's a guy. He's very intriguing to me. I'll definitely be keeping my eye on Martavius Bryant out of Clemson. How about speed guys? How about the smaller guys that came to the combine, or not even necessarily smaller, just they ran a really fast time, and now you got to go back and cross-reference. You got to go back and I got to go back and watch film on some of these guys because they came and they showed out. They ran fast times. Now I need to see how the production was at college. Here are a couple of guys. Jeff Janis out of Saginaw Valley State. Here's a guy, comes up to the line, and I'm looking at him. He's a big built, nice, solidly built guy. And I'm looking at him, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's probably about to run a 4.55 or something of that nature. And he starts running, and all I could do was open my eyes up like silver dollars. Like, whoa, okay, what just happened? I mean, he's white. He's solidly built. He's not a slender guy. He's not a small guy. I mean, this guy's like 6'2", and he's solidly built. And they tell me his numbers that he put up at Saginaw Valley State, and I'm like, oh, those are some pretty gaudy numbers. And then he starts running, and I'm like, whoa, like, what just happened? That guy, to me, has one of those it factors. And I thought he ran well in terms of running routes. I thought he caught the football well. There's a little bit of stiffness with him sometimes, but I said, wow. I mean, that kind of athleticism on that frame, he can do some things. If he gets with the right coaching staff and they coach him up and he learns the NFL game, how to sit down in zone coverage, how to beat man and man, and how to get open, with that kind of speed and that body type, look out for that kind of guy. Jeff Janis is someone to look out for. How about Tevin Reese? I first saw Tevin Reese. I wasn't enamored because you're talking about a guy that's probably about 6 feet, 6'1", but I thought he was about 150 pounds soaking wet. He looked really skinny, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? But when I saw the guy run and I saw the guy catch the football, I said, wait, there's got to be somewhere for this guy to play. I mean, he caught the football extremely well. A couple of catches way away from his frame where he extended out and caught the football cleanly. Impressed with Tevin Reese. I had to do a double take on him. I'll definitely go back and do my homework on Tevin Reese because he ran extremely fast, ex-track guy, and he caught the football just as well as he ran. I got to go back and do some more homework on Tevin Reese. He opened my eyes, caught the football well, and ran extremely fast. What about Dante Moncrief out of Ole Miss? Here's a guy, a lot of production at Ole Miss. He jumped well, he ran well, he timed well. He dropped a couple of passes, but all in all, the guy is explosive. That's the one thing I took away from watching him was he was explosive. And he's got a lot of production at Ole Miss. So you match up the explosiveness with the production and a lot of the athleticism I saw at the combine, you could have yourself a steal in this draft in the form of Dante Moncrief. Corey Brown out of Ohio State, burner. Okay, guy can flat out run, one of those 4.43 40 guys. He lit it up in terms of running. Thought he had some trouble catching the football sometimes. Thought his routes weren't as sharp as they could have been. He's a guy that technically isn't a great route runner yet, but if he works at his craft as fast as he is, he's going to scare people with his speed. If he can learn how to run routes, run them crisply, he could be a problem running 12 back to 10s, running dig routes, because you got to respect the long distance speed the guy can move. And if he can run you off the ball and then run precise routes, he's going to be a handful. He's a guy that you definitely need to look out for. Corey Brown from Ohio State. T.J. Jones out of Notre Dame. He ran well. He caught the football well. He was a little stiff. I thought he was going to be a little bit smoother in some of his routes. He wasn't, but he ran some routes. Well, you can tell some of the routes he ran at Notre Dame and the ones that he didn't run a lot, because some of the ones that he didn't run, he wasn't as crisp. The ones that he was familiar with, that he ran a lot of, he was really, really smooth and fluid on those routes. Caught the ball well, ran fast. He did everything he needed to do to make sure that his name is in the hat, in the discussion when you get to the middle rounds of the draft. And Bruce Ellington from South Carolina is a guy that, much like Ace Sanders, he's a little bit bigger than Ace Sanders, can run really fast, can give you extra added value on special teams, and can catch the football. I thought he helped himself at the combine with how he ran and caught the football. Now, honorable mentions at the quarterback position. Jordan Lynch is a guy that they're looking at to play several positions, and he's a quarterback. He was like third in the Heisman voting. So the guy had some huge games, but I don't know if his game translates to the NFL. I think scouts are looking at him he tested with the running backs as well, and they asked him to switch to safety. They've got all these different preconceived notions about him. Mike Mayock said, hey, why don't you just give the guy a chance at quarterback first? And if he can't play that, then you can try to shoo him off to a different position. I'm all for it. Give the guy a chance at quarterback. I thought he threw the ball okay. I thought he was sporadic. I thought he was all over the place in terms of accuracy, but I just need to see more from Jordan Lynch. That's what the bottom line is. I didn't see enough of him at the combine. I didn't see enough of him at Northern Illinois for me to really make a sound decision on how I feel about him. I just need to see more. I just know he's an athlete. He ran well, and so he did what he was supposed to do in terms of athleticism. I just need to see more of him as a quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo. Here's a name I'm hearing more and more of out of Eastern Illinois. A lot of comparisons, of course. You come from Eastern Illinois. Everyone wants to make the Tony Romo comparison, but he's a guy I'm starting to hear a buzz about, a guy that his name is starting to ring around a lot, and I'm hearing it more and more every time you start talking about quarterbacks. Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo. Here's a guy. I watched him throw at the combine. I thought athletic-wise, he was solid. He wasn't great, wasn't earth-shattering, didn't jump off the page, but he wasn't that bad either. And I watched him throw it a couple of times. Not bad at all. The guy can spin it. I thought he threw some crisp footballs. I thought he gave the guys a chance to catch it in great spots. I thought of the quarterbacks that threw, he was in Group 4 with McCarron and Bortles and Taj Boyd. I thought he held his own. I thought he threw the football well with those guys stacking up against them. Because once I started to hear his name, I wanted to see him. So I started paying attention to him. I thought he threw the football well. So I'll be keeping an eye on Jimmy Garoppolo and seeing where he ends up in the draft. And then David Fales out of San Jose State. He was in that Group 4 as well. So it was kind of heavy over there in Group 4. Thought he threw the football solidly as well. He had a little bit of zip. He can fling. I thought he had probably the most zip on his football of anybody in Group number 4. And he was zipping it out there. So I like what I saw out of him. Again, got to see more. I don't really like making uninformed decisions on guys. Didn't see a lot of him at the combine. The limited access that I had to him, I thought, hey, man, this guy's zipping it out there. So those are some honorable mentions. And somebody I forgot yesterday at the tight end position, a guy that you need to go back and do work on. I know I do. A.C. Leonard out of Tennessee State is a guy. He ran the fastest time at the combine of any tight end at 4.540. He was moving. I thought he caught the football well. He looked fluid as an athlete. Need to go back and do homework on A.C. Leonard. So that's day number 2 of the NFL Combine. That was a lot to digest. 8 hours of combine action condensed in a nice little 45-minute package for you. So I did all the work, so you didn't have to. I'll be back tomorrow for day number 3 of the combine. You get defensive linemen and linebackers out there running around. So I'll be back tomorrow for day number 3 of the combine. Remember, if it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the lab room. Thank you for joining me. See you tomorrow.